Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
How's it going, my dear?
It's going.
Yeah. We're getting ready to go live, Ellen. Hold.
Ellen's going to be doing most of the talking.
Okay, hold, hold. Okay. 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 Yeah, I got it. Okay. Okay. Ready? Okay. Good afternoon, Harlem and Harlems of the world. This is Terry Wisdom from Harlem Network News coming to you live. Thank you for joining us on this afternoon, this great day in Harlem. For those of you who are just joining us, Harlem Network News is a new media platform that was really created to assure the Harlem and Harlems of the world are informed. Knowledge is power. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and HarlemNetworkNews.com. When I say it's a great day in Harlem, today is the start of Harlem Week, which is 46 years old, and it is the first time that Harlem Week has gone virtual. So we had an interview earlier today on Facebook with Marco Nobles, who is the executive director for Harlem Week. And you can join at any point this week. It's harlemweek.com. Support. A lot of things are happening in the community, and the Greater Harlem Chamber of Commerce is the parent of Harlem Week. So without further ado, this afternoon, we wanted to have a conversation with our new Vice President candidate, Kamala Harris. And I have here with me Sister Ellen DeLeston, and she's a native New Yorker, and she is joining us from Los Angeles, California. And I also have Tina Dunkley, who is joining us from Atlanta, Georgia, who is also a native New Yorker. And as you know, when we speak of Harlem, it is a generic because Harlem is the Mecca of the Black world, and it is all inclusive. So Ellen, if you would just like to say a few words and a little bit about your background, and then we will have Tina introduce herself. And before we dive in, I actually want you to introduce yourselves, but I wanted to just read a statement that Ava DuVernay had all over social media on Kamala Harris. And I think it's a good place to begin the conversation. Ellen?
Hi, I'm happy to be here. I'm a retired educator. I've worked in the educational system for quite a long time, and happy to say I'm retired but still active involved in the community here in Los Angeles.
I need her on full screen. Okay.
Thank you.
So thank you so much, Ellen, for joining us. And Tina, would you like to introduce yourself and just share what your background is?
Well, Tina Maria Dunkley is my name. I am the retired director of the Clark Atlanta University Art Museum, as well as I'm a visual artist, and have been involved in various different aspects of the community, arts community here in Atlanta. And that's the quick summary, I think, of that.
All
I've
right.
also authored 2 books, I should add.
Okay,
But,
share
yeah.
that with our audience.
Yes.
That's
yes,
important.
So,
Yes.
one on the forgotten freedom fighters in the War of 1812, and the other on the permanent collection of Clark Atlanta University.
Okay. Okay. So thank you very much, and we will be sure to put that in the chat. And there are no accidents, and there are no coincidences. We have some other quote Harlem women that are going to join us later. But what Ellen, Tina, and I have in common is that we all attended Lincoln University in Pennsylvania, which is one of the first Black college, HBCU. And so that's a very significant thing. And we attended Lincoln University with Gil Scott-Heron. And that is where his original band started. Ellen was part of the band. And I listened to Gil all the time. At that time, we called him Spider-Man, but I listened to him all the time on Gil Scott-Heron radio. And it was astounding to me that he actually had a song and a poem that's talking about no knock. You know, and I'm just like, that was 40 years ago. How prophetic was that? So here we are. So I want to start the conversation, which is what inspired me to say is very important that with our sister, Kamala Harris, our senator, our candidate for vice president, it was important to begin this conversation today. There's a lot of rumble. There's a lot of people talking back and forth, but we've really got to spring into action. We've gone through COVID. We've gone through Black Lives Matter. 2020 is indeed a very significant year. So I just want to read this and then we can volley the conversation. I know that Ellen has done a lot of fact checks and we really want people to be informed and to be knowledgeable and to get out there and make a change, make a difference. Black Lives Matter, Black Votes Matter. And for those of you who are just joining, I'm Terry Wisdom, and this is Harlem Network News. So Ava DuVernay on Kamala Harris. And as you know, she is one of our renowned filmmakers, author, just done a lot from Queen Sugar to 13. She works collectively. She did the film on the Exonerated Five. So she's been very much in the political warfare. So Ava says, there is no debate anymore. There's no room for it in my book. We either make this happen or literally more of us perish. People are dying. Someone I love died. This virus is real. If it hasn't visited your doorsteps, it will. Oh, but Kamala did this, or she didn't do that. I hear you. I know, and I don't care.
Right.
Because what she didn't do is abandon citizens in a pandemic, rip babies from their mothers' arms at the border, send federal troops to terrorize protesters, manufacture new ways to suppress Black and brown votes, actively disrespect indigenous people and land, traffic in white supremacist rhetoric in an effort to stir racist violence at every turn, attempt to dismantle most American democratic systems of checks and balances, degrade women all day, every day, infect the Supreme Court with another misogynist hack, demolish America's standing on climate, actively cultivate and further white supremacist structures and systems across all aspects of American daily life. I mean, that's what she didn't do. So don't want to hear anything bad about her. It doesn't matter to me. Vote them in, and then let's hold them accountable. My sentiments. Anything other than that is insanity. It's ego. It's against our interests. It's selfish. It's disrespectful to our elders. It's nonsense. It's talking to hear yourself talk. This is a matter of life and death. We need all our energy focused. This is a fight for more than can be expressed here. There is no debate anymore, not for me anyway. And it's the number sign or hashtag Vote Blue 2020. So Tina or Ellen, anybody want to follow behind that?
I'm not sure that there's much to say beyond
I hear you. I hear you. I want to see Tina on full screen. Yes.
I will add that I listened to a 45-minute discussion monologue by Professor Brittany Cooper, I think.
Okay, thank you. And I'm trying, Sonny, can we get Tina on full screen so we can really see her? Can that happen? Okay, go right ahead. Go right ahead, Tina.
Yes, and you know, her concern, well, she really, if you haven't heard it, really, it's well worth the 45 minutes because she really covers a lot of issues that Ava was dealing with relative to Kamala and the situation that we're in, and how what I'm recalling specifically was how there seemed to be some concern on her part about people not voting because it's not there, and it's the younger populations that I think she was really driving home some of the points. But this idea that they wanted to see a different ticket, be it with Bernie Sanders and I don't know who else, but but she made some salient points about, you know, over the last let's say 3-4 generations, how they're really, you know, this idea of getting your exact team to vote for, otherwise, you know, you're not going to vote. That just doesn't happen. It really had not happened in the generations that have passed, so that we were basically people of color were really given to this notion of, well, you know, you have to, you know, you're going to select the best of the two and make the best of it. But the idea of not voting was not an option. So, and she had a lot to say about that. And I think we're in the crossroads where those voices like DuVernay and Cooper really need to be heard in no uncertain terms. You know, I'm certainly glad that Kamala is the pick, and the focus now is how do we stop Trump from totally dismantling, from preventing the election to roll forward. That's really where my head is at.
Yes, yes. And we have Stephanie Berry that has just joined us, and Stephanie is one of our authors and directors and producers. And Stephanie, can we see you? We would love to see you if we can. And for those of you who are just joining in, this is Harlem Network News. And hey, Steph, how are you? And this is Terry Wisdom. And this is our conversation. This is Harlem Women. And we are speaking on Kamala Harris. We are speaking to Kamala Harris. And it is my intention to drive it home, to bring Kamala and have her on Harlem Network News, and to bring Kamala and Biden to Harlem. They've got to come to Harlem, the Mecca. They have to come to other Harlem communities, be it virtual or in person and nobody's there and it's virtual, but they have got to come. And I feel that this is our time. This is our time. What has happened with COVID, we're clearing through it. It changed the world. It changed the paradigm. The Black Lives Matter has changed the world, changed the paradigm, and we need to steer the course. The way that politics works is you vote, but the next piece is that you make the candidate accountable. I feel that we need to have a list of concerns, demands, make sure that Biden and Kamala have those, and we've got to hold feet to the fire because we're just at the beginning. And I'm in agreement with Ava DuVernay where we're saying, okay, what are we talking about? We know what is going on. We know what's going on with Trump. And now here is, I feel, a blessing because in Biden making that choice for Kamala, that's a blessing. And we need to accept it as that. And we need to support our system. That is what I have to say, but not blindly support. I'm saying support her, but she's got to be accountable to the community. There are a lot of things happening, and Black Lives Matter is meaningless unless we are in the game and at the party. And right now we're not. Economically, you know, is disparity all over the place, whether people are shouting Black Lives Matter or not. And that is the concern, that is the issue. And that does not happen by itself. That is something we've got to make happen, and we've got to be consistent. So would anybody else like to weigh in on that? Ellen? Stephanie, if you would just introduce yourself, please. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Berry, and born, bred, and raised in Harlem.
It's not moving. Excuse me. It's not moving to her screen.
Right. Yeah, Sonny. We've got to move to each person as they speak. So that's Tina, and if we could get Stephanie, so we can really see her, that would be great. Go ahead, Stephanie. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
That's it. I'm
Okay.
Harlemite, and
Thoughts?
well, in terms of the vice president selection, I'm starting to shift my mindset as we are undergoing this almost surreal historic period. And I'm not challenging it, and I'm not questioning it. I'm accepting that this is what the universe is giving us. So all I want to do is give spiritual support and other political active support as much as I can. I think the whole Trump presidency has revealed, and perhaps that's part of why he came to be, has revealed a lot of the repressed ills of our society and how we have or have not evolved in really attaining democracy as we claim, you know, for this country. And he's really brought out a lot. You know, it amuses me. We don't go to the dentist if the dentist didn't go to, doesn't have a degree in medicine. Mm-hmm. I mean, we look them up and see what the rates are, right. Yet we have a president, right, that is unqualified. I mean, you should at least know, can he recite the Star-Spangled Banner? At least know the Constitution. He doesn't know the law. I almost don't even blame him. The moment he mocked the special needs journalists, I was done then. You wouldn't send your child to a school where the principal or person in authority would behave in such unempathetic, uninformed manner. So I released him a long time ago. That incident did it for me. And, you know, we can't talk about the accumulation cruelties and ignorance. So it is imperative that we turn the government around. It is imperative. So my thing is to show nothing but unity. Yes,
Yes.
there is also, we have to also set expectations, demands. I'm not saying, you know, just blindly go into it, but it's very important that it's done with grace and love and support.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Stephanie. And
I
that
have a quick question.
Yes,
Is Black
ma'am.
Lives Matter still protesting?
Yes and no. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I believe here in New York, they most recently tried to arrest one of the leaders of Black Lives Matter, and they weren't able to do it. And there are several other layers of things going on. But I mean, at this point, what I believe is that we really have to begin to gather all of the forces and get some strategy going, because I think that this is also part of Trump's plan for there to be a divide.
Yes.
And then once there's this divide, and you know, it's always playing the race card, because even with Kamala saying, well, you know, she's Indian and she's Jamaican and maybe she wasn't born here, you know, that starts to get a lot of radars going for people. And the time for divide among people of color is over, because that's how we've lost. Okay? So
well, Trump is a master of division and diversion and trickery, but his tricks have grown old and tired. So they're not as, they're even looking more, I don't even want to say childish, because I don't want to accuse put that behavior on children. I don't know what to call it,
right.
but they're certainly growing old and tired. So my main thing, and this might sound politically incorrect, I don't care what she is. You know, this society has been defining her as Black until it was not convenient to do that.
Thank you. That's my point. My sentiments, exactly. My sentiments, exactly.
Yeah.
I have a question to all of us, and how do you feel? What do you think? Do you think there will be Amy Karen type envy that will prevent the population of white women going to the polls?
Could you repeat?
Do you think that there will be Amy and Karen envy of, you know, preventing them from going to the polls? That's what I'm really curious to know. I mean, that's something to me that.
Well, to me, that's the biggest threat to this whole election. I mean, people who may decide that they don't want to vote.
Right.
I have talked to several people, and to my surprise, they're saying they're not going to vote. How can we not forget, especially on the heels of John Lewis just passing away, that we didn't always have the privilege to vote. And when we voted, many times people were hurt, threatened, lynched, and now we want to give up our right to vote because we don't like who's on the ticket?
Yeah.
If you have to say anything, you need to vote. Who you vote for, I'm not going to tell you. But if you don't like what's happening, then you need to get up and vote for the opponent. If you're up for Trump, well, go vote for him too. I mean, I'm not for Trump, but I'm just saying, if that's what you want to do. But to say, as an African American descendant of slave, that I'm not going to show up at the polls, our ancestors are shaking their heads because they paid the ultimate sacrifice for us to have that privilege.
And that's what Brittany Cooper was talking about, if I can remember, because she actually was speaking against the posture of older African Americans speaking to younger African Americans about, if I have this right, if Brittany's listening, please forgive me, but this idea that it wasn't good enough for us to assert that argument, which I would assert all the time. I mean, exactly what you said. And now it seemed that she had another perspective on how to communicate with this younger group, which seemed to go more toward this idea that we as African Americans have really never had as a choice of these, probably outside of the Obama situation, the Obama administration, that option to have exactly who we wanted on the ballot. And so, and she was measuring that by this idea of when they were born, from what they would have understood about what happened versus now. It was really interesting.
Yeah, I think that that's a very interesting dynamic that, based on when you were born, might be what your understanding is.
Right.
But I go back to, and once again, for those of you who are just joining, this is Harlem Network News, and I'm Terry Wisdom. I'm the host for today, and I have here with me Ellen DeLeston, an educator, a musician, one of the original members of Gil Scott-Heron's band that started at Lincoln University. I have Tina Dunkley here, who is an artist and a curator, and was the curator of the gallery at Clark Atlanta, and an author of 2 books, as well as Stephanie Berry, who is one of the directors of Blackberry Production, well-known, renowned actress, writer, judge for Sundance and many other things, and the author of a wonderful play that came out recently here in Harlem on gentrification. So I think that we have a good core group here, but one of the things that I know is that we are really fighting. First, we were fighting COVID, which is a virus. We were then fighting systemic racism, which continues. And the other fight that we are having is ignorance. And I want to add apathy to it. I feel like people have a lot to say. And as people of color, we have to call it out. There's a lot to say, but it's in the doing. It is in the action. If you have something to say, then you need to put some action behind it. And I don't know how many things have to happen after communities of color being the hardest hit for COVID and still being hit. I know in my zip code, we lost 700 people. Another next zip code in Harlem, we lost 1,300 people. So that ought to tell you, however, it's almost, some of it is like a Noah's Ark thing. I mean, I heard this today when I was listening to church, and Reverend Butts on Abyssinia, just kind of talking about Noah's Ark. And, when Noah built the ark, some people thought he was crazy or nothing was going to happen, and they didn't get on the ark. So yesterday, when I passed a park on 145th and Malcolm X Boulevard, that's kind of like the prelude to the Rucker, which is a well-known Harlem basketball thing, there were 500 people out there. They weren't social distancing. Everybody was in their teens to 20s, and no one had a mask on. You know what I'm saying? So those are people who don't believe that there's going to be a flood. So, I mean, that's what we really have got to look at. But those of us who know, and that's why I'm here on Harlem Network News, and it's no accident that the sisters that are here with me are knowledgeable sisters. So those of us that know have to do what we can to assure that others know, because we know this is about division. I keep going back to it, even raising the color ethnicity issue, especially for people of color. If we looked into everybody's background, everybody would be split up like that. So who is the real people? So we really have to focus, because this is all a diversion. We have to focus on the fact that Kamala has been chosen as the candidate. We should be dancing in the street. This is the first time that a Black woman has been chosen as a candidate for vice president. That is something to celebrate, because that means that my daughter, my granddaughter can look and say, this is a model. This is something that can be done. Now, you may not be in agreement with every single thing she's done, but this is politics, it's public officials. You have got to hold them accountable. We are going to vote for you, but this is what we need, this is what we want, and this is what we demand, because that's how it works, okay? And granted, we have not been able to garner that power because we have not been at the table and we have not been at the party, but we have to crash the party and get in there and do what's required. Ellen, if you would just, because I know that you have done a lot of fact checking, because that's what you do. So if you want to bring forth those facts and information.
I have to say, I haven't done a lot of fact checking, but I did some just to see, okay, what is the info regarding Kamala and people and their thoughts about her as a prosecutor, as a district attorney, state, attorney, and that kind of thing. And what I found is she, like many of us, you may feel one way, but how you go about to solve the problems, everybody may not agree. Some people think she's flip-flop. Some people say she hasn't been as aggressive. When I was looking at some of the things that she had a chance to do on the positive side, she's done some really good things to help the justice system for Black and brown people and people of no means, like her nonviolent first-time drug offenders transitional program, Back on Track, that she was involved in, the open justice program she launched in 2015. So I saw some of those things that she was involved in. Of course, there's the flip side when there were some incidences of perhaps corruption that were not things that she didn't investigate, that people thought that she should have investigated, that she didn't. But as you said, this is a political world, and Rome wasn't built in a day, and it does take time and situations to make the change. My focus at this point is, okay, what can she do? And more importantly, Joe Biden, he's the one running for president.
Thank you.
Yes, yes.
He needs boots on the ground. He's got a good mouthpiece in her. There's no doubt about it that when she became the Attorney General, how prosecutions for certain things, just ballooned, because she's excellent in her field.
She's capable.
More than capable. So she's excellent in her field. So I think he has a good running mate. But now, Joe, what are you going to do? We need boots on the ground. You do need to come out of the basement. You need to be visible. You've got somebody there to support you. Tell the people what you're going to do. And I just made a list. What you're going to do about Medicare. And newsflash, it ain't free. So Medicare for all, I like the sound of it, but guess what? It's not free. And those of us on Medicare, once you retire, you find that out right away. It's not fair. What are you going to do about Medicare? What are you going to do about this postal situation, which I'm going to add, you could take your little absentee ballot or whatever you get. You don't have to wait for the post office. You can walk it right down to the poll, throw it in the box. If the postal system is so...
If they mail them, that's really...
votes.
Thank you.
So that they need to have them available someplace where you can pick them up.
But I'm just saying, What are you going to do about the Postal Service? What are you going to do about my taxes that more than doubled since Donald Trump's tax break that is breaking my back? Okay.
And this is in Los Angeles. That's what's happening.
Oh, yeah.
Around the
And
country.
he screwed Los Angeles, but I don't want to. What are you going to do about race relations? Speak to these issues, Joe Biden, with your running mate, Kamala Harris. Tell me what you're going to do about that. And then I believe you will draw in the common man. As much as people were willing to sacrifice life and limb when we think about this COVID environment and march for George Floyd and other situations,
Thank you.
People out there, but you got to give the people a reason to get out there, address their issues. What are you going to do about unemployment? Don't forget about immigration and those little kids that were separated and probably forever damaged because they may never see their families again. Who knows how many kids slip through the cracks? As an educator, it just grieves my spirit to know that that happened on our shores. What are you going to do about these things? So we need boots on the ground. We need Joe Biden being aggressive and people not worried about his capacity to lead vigorously, because that's what we're going to need. He demonstrates that Kamala is just the running mate. She's not running for president. And actually, no matter what she thinks on any subject, it's not in line with his plan as president for this United States. She's really working for the president. Not about her agenda, it's about his agenda.
Okay, thank you, Ellen. I think that that was very succinct in terms of the way that you rolled it out. And that is more of what we need to do, because as far as I'm concerned, the reaction of us as a people, and I say us as a people, Black people, people of color, to Kamala, it hasn't been what it should be. There are people who stepped up. You know, you see the pictures, of course it's photo op, but Michelle Obama stood with her, put her arm around her, and Ava DuVernay put a position out there. And that is what's required. That is what's required. And I believe to get to some of the younger voters, some of their images, their role models, be it the rappers like T.I. with the commercial, those are the kinds of things that have to happen. We all know what we're in with the Donald Trump thing. We've seen it. It's been extremely destructive. And nobody has really been able to do anything about it. Congress tried to impeach him, but with all the, the encumberments or whatever, it wasn't possible. But he continues to do criminal activity, and it continues to impact us directly. So I know that we cannot sit down. I know that we cannot sit still. And this is a small effort. This is Harlem Network News. We are a new media platform. We are small. We talk, and we're looking to get big. We are here to assure that Harlem and the Harlems of the world are informed. And this is the part we can do to just begin the conversation and rally and gather people. It's critical. It is critical. You can't keep complaining and you don't do anything. Even getting out there and demonstrating when you see something as egregious as somebody being killed on television with a knee on their neck, that gets you out to rally. But what's beyond the rally? You know, we can draw some murals on the ground and Black Lives Matter and all of that. And I think that was a good question. I believe Stephanie asked, and that needs to be vetted. What are the Black Lives Matter movement doing right now? You know what I'm saying? And like I said, I feel it's a very pivotal time, and it's strategic on Joe Biden's part to pick a Black candidate and to pick somebody like Kamala Harris that is qualified. So where do we go from here? Because now we know we have some kind of team. So Tina, yes.
The only thing I really want to add, because when I believe you, I was hoping Ms. Berry was going to return. But I asked a question that we didn't deal with, and that was really about the how you believe white females are going to respond to this at the polls. That's really what I want to know.
Okay. Okay. So thoughts?
Who can say? I'm not a white female. I really don't know how they're going to respond. But I do think that those who support Joe Biden and believe he's a good candidate are going to support him. And I don't think Kamala is going to change that.
Well, she could change it either way.
Hold on.
Okay.
Remember, Hillary Clinton had a problem
Right.
with white females. So who's to say?
Right.
To say, I think our focus has to be on getting people to vote, period.
Okay.
Okay. I think that's a very viable question, Tina, in terms of how will white women vote? Because though we know we've come a long way in this country, we know that there's a racial divide. We know that there is a sexist divide. So all of those come into play. Mm-hmm. And pretty much at the end of the game, with all the people that were running for the Democratic, ticket, right, we ended up with a white man, an older white male. That's what we ended up with, no matter where we started. Mm-hmm. So I think that it is progressive, mm-hmm, in a sense. It's progressive of Joe Biden to put a woman on his ticket and to put a Black woman on his ticket. It's a first. And I will continue, because this is America and we can't do all the DNA tests. But in America, the way it's gone, if you look Black or you had 1/10 or you had 1/8, you are Black. And that's just what time it is. And most people that are here in America, whether their family migrated here, immigrated here, or whatever it is, probably have a similar mix or could have any mix because of slavery and all that has occurred. So the division among us, we need to stop that, because Black is Black.
Well,
I would say probably amongst the panel, and I had mentioned this to Terry earlier, I'm probably the most conservative person sitting on this panel, and I don't mind saying that. But we must not forget that we don't need to just vote for Kamala because she's Black.
Right. Oh yeah, absolutely.
We gotta vote for her.
Absolutely.
I'm voting for her not just because she's Black, for her because I think she is well qualified and a job. And we can assume that everybody Black is gonna vote for her. So that's where we have to stop also pigeoning ourselves in to where, oh, well, because she's Black or because Barack Obama is Black, everybody's gonna vote for her. Everybody's Black. That's a misnomer. And we know that's a misnomer.
Right.
Yes, absolutely. Is her capabilities, her experience. She is well vetted. She's been tied and trusted and tested out there on the campaign field. So she can withstand the pressure.
Right. That's right.
Yeah. And I think he picked the person that would be a best complement to him.
Right.
Because he needed somebody with some fire in their belly, and I believe she's
Right.
got.
Yeah, and somebody who is smart, and I really didn't mean it to be in that slant that she's Black, because that doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter in the sense of if whoever the candidate is does not answer to our needs, does not answer to the people, and that we don't make them do that, it doesn't matter. We had a Black president, okay? And for whatever the whole paradigm of the government, a lot of things that he was trying to do, he was not able to get done, you know. And speaking truth, as we give our vote as people of color or disenfranchised people or poor people, we have to make the candidate accountable. We're giving our vote, but it's not for nothing, so you can get in there and just win and then act like we don't exist. And that is the point. You know, that's why I think the list that you had, Ellen, of some of the things that we need addressed, we need to have some real lists, and within the communities, the organizations, and there are many, let's take it on. We have to. We're fighting for our life here, especially when we have somebody in office who has done all that President or Trump has done to actually have people die. So, I mean,
behind the system and promote racial tensions when there was no need for it. There really no need. But you know what? These people were always hiding in the shadows, so they just come out. My thought is Biden's folks need to be looking at that electoral college and start counting those numbers and hit those swing states with a passion. Because California, you got it wrapped up. New York, you got it wrapped up. But what's going to happen in Wisconsin? What's going to happen in Florida? And you can't be afraid to go into those areas and get in the trenches. You need to count the numbers. People forget. One of the ways, and I thought that was really very smart of President Obama's team, they were looking at those numbers and they were counting the electoral college votes to make sure that not only did he get popular vote, but he got the necessary vote. The system is in place for a reason. And some people say, oh, we need to throw it out. I'm not going to say that. Our founding fathers, and I say that in quotes because not my father, but
exactly.
You know, they set it up like it is, and we can win within the system, but we've got to be smart enough. Look in there, get in the trenches, look and see, this is where we have to move. We've got to be strategic.
And proactive.
Well, if I can answer, because I really do have to leave, but
okay, thank you.
But I do want to summarize my closing remarks, and that's the notion that Donald Trump is not playing by the same playbook as we know, and so he's already thrown that book out, and he's really using, I mean, verbatim, the Putin playbook. So he's really, the fact that he's already accusing the Democrats of what he's doing, essentially.
Right.
And that's the scariest part of all. And they were talking about the PEDS, the presidential executive powers that no one seems to be aware of, very few people are aware of, that you pull out of a hat. And so the fact that he's using Putin's playbook, which means that he's really going for an election that is a mock election, to make it look like he won. And some would argue that's exactly what happened the last time. It's the crossroads, as far as I'm concerned, relative to America. And I mean, everyone sort of realizes that. So the idea of not voting is really voting for Trump.
Yes.
To me, that's what it equates to. And I pray for us all, and that we hit the streets with some very strong boots to do the work.
Okay.
Yeah, it's about getting people out to vote and making sure that young people know the issues that need to be addressed and to stand on those issues. And to
Okay.
no
Okay.
good.
Thank you, Tina.
Thank
We
you.
All right,
appreciate you
Tina.
jumping in. We appreciate your
Okay.
thoughts, the mindset. I appreciate you, Ellen, for coming in. And as I said, I feel like we're the big three. We've been on this journey for a long time. We started it at Lincoln University, and that is a place where we began to formulate our mindset and have our understanding at a very early age. So I am extremely grateful for that. There were many around us that mentored us, including our great Gil Scott-Heron, and that has taken us a long way in terms of being able to look at things, being able to grow, being able to look at the intellect, and it's about garnering more of that in this world.
And observing the revolution is actually being televised.
Yes,
It is being
yes.
televised.
The revolution is being televised. And 40 years ago, as I said, Gil Scott-Heron had a song that talks about no knock, because that's how Fred Hampton, Panther, was killed. And so the process continues. So we have got to make a change, live a change. And if each individual person makes a commitment, my commitment is Harlem Network News, and to make as much good trouble as I can on here. I hear my ancestors, I have my calling. Obviously, we're in different states. Ellen, you must make your commitment for what you can do in your community. And Tina, who just exited, is doing the same thing. You know, if we go to meetings or we go to things or we see things that we're dissatisfied with in our communities, we have got to say something, and we have got to do something. We know things are upside down. We know things are wrong. And I'm just going to close. And we're going to try to share this with as many people as possible. And once again, I'm Terry Wisdom. This is Harlem Network News, and we are a new media platform. It is a great day here in, quote, Harlem, the Mecca, and the actual physical Harlem. We have Harlem Week all week long. There's an interview that we did with Marco Noble, who is the executive director of Harlem. Is harlemweek.com. There are many things for young people and teenagers. There's a hackathon. There's a business summit. We're having entertainment with Stevie Wonder, as well as Melba Moore, and some of our Broadway stars. So there is a lot going on. But even with all of that going on and the Black Lives Matter, we had a shooting in front of Black Ink last night, or the night before. So we are also fighting gun violence. We're fighting a lot of things. We know that the world is not right. So rally behind our sister, Kamala Harris. She is a graduate of Howard University, one of our foremost and formidable HBCUs. She is a member of the AKA sorority. So she is connected to the community in various ways. So let's support her, but just not support her blindly. We must make her accountable, Joe Biden accountable, Senator Kamala Harris, Vice President-elect, President Joe Biden. I invite you to come to Harlem Network News. I invite you to come to Harlem. If you want the vote, you got to come. You got to hear the people. If you got to do it on Zooms, 100 Zooms, that's how it is. It's hand to hand. So I am going to close. And Ellen, did you have a closing statement?
No, I think you summed it up pretty well.
Okay. And I thank you for standing guard. I thank you for standing tall. I thank you for jumping in, because this is critical. And this is what we have to do. There are many organizations. I'm working with a task force with Harlem Community Board 10. We are actually in the process, and we will come back to you on that, have a show on that. But we are actually have set a goal, and we have started the process to build a monument to the exonerated 5 in Central Park, okay? to commemorate them, and so that people will never forget. Miss Salam, Sharon Salam, the mother of Dr. Yusef Salam, is with us on this journey. So we are at the beginning of a lot of things, and we cannot let down the mantle. It's showtime. Okay, it's not time for talk. It is time for action. Okay, as we have to get involved. We cannot be apathetic and then talk about it after, because that is putting a knife in our chest. It is putting the nail in our coffin. And I'm not willing to die. Not like that. I'm not going out like that. I'm going out fighting. And as people of color in this country, based on what we've seen, we must rise up. We must rise up and have our voices heard, and have whoever the candidates are be accountable. Okay? So we have an opportunity to get Donald Trump out. People have been talking a lot of trash and seeing a lot of trash from him. So we've got to make it happen. And the Biden candidacy has now a lot more flavor, a lot more interest, a lot more energy, more intellect, with Senator Kamala Harris coming to the table. So I'm going to go out on this. This is Harlem Network News. We need you to participate. We need you to share. We need you to support, because there are very few Black media systems in place now. And that is by design. Okay, there's a book that I read when I was a student of media at Fordham University here in New York. And that was after going to Lincoln University. And it was a book called by Marshall McLuhan, and I will never forget it. Is the media the message, or is the message the media? And that's the question that you've got to ask yourself. And then once again, with the Gil Scott-Heron, the revolution will not be televised, it will be live. But now where we are, it is televised and it's live at the same point. Okay, so we're here. So I'm going to close with this. I read it once, I'm going to read it again. I would like you to really take it in, take in the meaning, and take up some action. Gotta happen. I'm a proactive person. That started when I was in high school. Okay, it was when I was in college and experienced Kent State and Mississippi State and the Klan burning crosses on Lincoln University's campus. Okay, I was bused. Okay, and I wasn't called the N-word. I was called a bus child. Okay, so this is my journey, and I'm not putting down the mantle. We're laying the pavement for our children and our grandchildren. Okay, we must take our own leadership in our hands and be able to then make it what we want, get the candidate that we want. But right now, we got to go through the process. We have to go through the process and hold candidates accountable to us. So without further ado, in the words of our great Ava DuVernay on Kamala Harris, and I'm going to reach out to her too, so that we can form a chain to make these things happen. And Ava says, there is no debate anymore. There's no room for it in my book. We either make this happen or literally more of us perish. People are dying. Someone I love died. This virus is real. If it hasn't visited your doorstep, it will. Oh, but Kamala did this, or she didn't do that. I hear you. I know, and I don't care, because what she didn't do is abandon citizens in a pandemic, rip babies from their mother's arms at the border, send federal troops to terrorize protesters, manufacture new ways to suppress Black and brown votes, actively disrespect indigenous people and land, traffic in white supremacist rhetoric, an effort to stir racist violence at every turn, attempt to dismantle most American democratic systems of checks and balances, degrade women all day, every day, infect the Supreme Court with another misogynistic hack, demolish America's standing on climate, actively cultivate and further white supremacist structures and systems across all aspects of American daily life. I mean, that's what she didn't do. I don't want to hear anything bad about her. It doesn't matter to it doesn't matter to me. Vote them in, and then let's hold them accountable. Anything other than that is insanity. It's ego. It's against our own interests. It's selfish. It's disrespectful to our elders. It's nonsense. It's talking to hear yourself talk. This is a matter of life and death. We need all our energy focused. This is a fight for more than can be expressed here. There is no debate anymore, not for me. And hashtag Vote Blue 2020. So I believe that says it all. I'm Terry Wisdom. I'm your host for Harlem Network News. I'm boots on the ground, and I'm going to stay there. I'm raising a fist. I'm raising the red, black, and green. It's about us moving forward. That's how Harriet Tubman did it. Okay, there were those who didn't want to go to freedom. Okay, she dragged them, and she didn't let them stop freedom for other people. So that's what time it is. We're on some Harriet Tubman, and we are the original people. We are the mothers of the earth. So we need to stand and believe that. So thank you, Ellen. Thank you, Harlem Network News audience. And I want to hear a plan from everybody. I'm reaching out as I can. This Harlem Network News is what I can do. It's where I can start. And I want everybody to do something. Let's get this vote out. Let's make it happen. This is what we've been crying for. And now we got it. And we're like rumbling and why and this and that. You know, come on. Come on. We're bigger than that. Better than that.
Let me just say this, sir. It'd be interesting to hear from some brothers about their thoughts and
Yes.
are they out to vote? Because
yes.
we need that too.
Yeah, yeah. And that is that's one of our next shows, because I was thinking, you know, I'm saying Harlem women. Okay, what do the brothers have to say about Kamala?
That's what I'm talking about.
What do they have to say? And then collectively, what are we going to do? And I'm going to also have the young people on, the college students on. Got to have everybody on, because everybody's got to be part of the conversation. And they have to come to the table. And I just, you know, am closing with saying landmark, the same way it was landmark for Obama to be nominated for presidency and for him to win the presidency as a Black man, as a man of color here in America. It's landmark for a Kamala Harris, a Black woman, a woman of color, to be nominated and vetted for the Vice President of the United States. So now let's hold your feet to the fire, Kamala. You know we're not easy. So we're not playing with you. We're not playing, and we know you're not playing either. So let's get this job done. But I need you to come to Harlem Network News. I need you to come to Harlem, and I need you to come to the Harlems of the world, because that's where the drumbeat is. But you got to show up. You got to show up. You got to connect. And Joe Biden, you got to do that too. You made a good choice, okay? But now you got to come to the party. You got to come to the house party, the basement party, because that's where you can talk to us. So thank you very much. This is Terry Wisdom and Harlem Network News. And I am here with my final guest, Ellen DeLeston, that is in the Los Angeles area, an educator, an artist, a musician, and prayer prayer. Our prayers are being answered. So now we just have to do the work, because prayer without work is dead. So thank you.
Faith
Harlem
without-
Network News, HarlemNetworkNews.com. And I thank you. And I'm
You're
doing well.
welcome.
Thank you.
All right.
Great day. Great day in Harlem.